Alrighty, we are back. We're better than ever. And thank you for joining me. I'm Afsa, one of your podcast hosts. I'm joined by the other two podcast hosts, Felicia and Bex. We're three girls,
up?
one track, the three girls mentioned. And yeah, we got a lot of stuff to do tomorrow, so we're getting right into it. No cold open, no nothing.
No.
It's 10:07 for me, so
Okay.
we gotta get it rolling.
Let's do it.
All right. First up, we have F1 fashion. We're gonna do our Project Runway and our What Not to Wear. I can go first.
Mm-hmm.
I was not inspired this week.
No.
Not at all.
It was boring.
It was very boring. So my Project Runway is Lewis's white outfit.
Yum.
Very simple, very clean, pretty general outfit. I've seen a bitch on DC streets wear it.
Wow.
Nothing special, but nothing bad either. And my What Not to Wear is Lando. I just feel like the shape of that aloe ball cap is like bad in like a completely different way than Max's ball caps used to be bad. Like this one just gave Lando's head a weird straight up and down shape right at the top, and not in like a
He's been
fun
getting
headdress
eaten up
way.
about this hat.
I'm sorry, the hat just looks bad.
He's been getting
in the
eaten
comments?
up about this hat. Yeah.
I
It
didn't
has
even look
popped
at
up
the comments.
multiple times. People just being like, where did he get this hat? What's wrong with this hat? I was like, oh, okay. I didn't think it was
the hat.
I didn't think it was that bad, but it wasn't great either.
The hat looks bad. So that's all I'm gonna say.
All right.
What you
So
got?
I'm gonna start with my What Not to Wear.
Mm-hmm.
Because that goes to the one and only Daniel Ricciardo. Because
Which one?
why'd
His
you bring
Hugo
out the
Boss
Hoochie?
shirt?
No, his Hoochie Daddy shorts.
Oh, I thought that was his
I'm
offensive.
sorry. We're in a strong disagreement.
Yeah.
One, I believe most men should be in a 5-inch inseam at all appropriate times of year. I think if you're a man with a thigh tattoo, it should be reduced to 3-inch inseams for an even longer period of year. So this is a rare Daniel dub.
I actually don't.
I appreciate Hoochie Daddy shorts. I just do not like this particular look on him. I feel as though he could have done better.
He needs
I
to be
don't
sluttier
know.
with it.
You know,
I
like
don't
the
like
white
athletic
t-shirt
tiny
looks
shorts.
dingy.
I like a sluttier
he,
short.
You know, he looks like he just, went for a run and decided to pop by a race. Like
That is true. I'll give you
you
that.
know, give me a little something, not kicking it in the backyard. You know.
I will give you that.
Okay. And my Project Runway is going to be Lewis's all black outfit. I
the
love that
bows?
sweatsuit.
With
Were there bows on it?
With the little
Oh, the one
bows?
that he had. Okay, I think he had two.
Not the bows.
He had two different.
Oh, the one with black and
the
red.
tracks.
Yeah, with the
Oh,
red
that was
piping on
tracksuit.
it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I really like that tracksuit. I actually really like the suit. It's what, Nike? No. What is it? I thought would look like a Nike swoosh. I don't know what brand it is, but it looks really nice on him, and I think it's a really clean look that he put together.
Well, so for me, I think it's going to be a sweep for Lewis. He's going to be my Project Runway. But funny enough, not for either one of the outfits that y'all mentioned. For
Which
the
one?
Gray sweater outfit.
I like that sweater.
It's a
It was
cute
a
one as well.
media day.
He had
with-
some cute fits this week that were
Yeah,
just
with
very
like
simple,
the
very cute.
aluminum kind of like crossbody bag.
Yes. Oh, I like the bag was a definite
He's a
hit.
bitch on the go.
It works for him, and I really liked it. So yeah, 10s across the board, Lewis, this week. However, I'm going to have to maybe deduct 110 because the black bow ensemble is
You're a
going
hater.
to get my What Not to Wear.
You're a hater.
Even though there were others, like I really considered Daniel Ricciardo's Hugo Boss shirt, that one, to get a What Not to Wear, but I was just like, it's so basic. Why even waste my time? So I'm
You're a
going to
hater.
give it to Lewis's, I think it was race day. His race day outfit with the bows. Oh, wait. Yeah, it was race day. It reminds me of like, Renaissance fair,
Fair
Well,
enough.
You know what I would have liked? If he would have just taken off the bows in the front and just let chest out.
He was being coquette.
No, because then he also had like the bows in the
He was being.
I can deal with the bows on the wrist. I think it really is the bows on the chest that I'm not a fan of.
Well, I didn't like it at all, so he gets my money there. Sorry, sir. But you got, 310s, so.
Listen, he worked the Azerbaijan runway.
There you go.
And T-Ways. That's hatred of the coquette culture. We can move right into F1 news. I mostly have fun F1 news this week, rather than my normal, actual, hard-hitting journalism. As you may know, we have Franco Colapinto on the grid, replacing Logan Sargent for the year. And it has recently come to everybody's attention that Franco Colapinto is an OG Team LH. He has some pro Team LH tweets. He was super excited to interact with Lewis this weekend. He's done clips and interviews before, shouting out Lewis.
Didn't he put up a post this weekend or something about
He did
Lewis?
put up a post being like, "Oh my god, it was so great to race with Lewis." He has been seen in some of the photos of Lewis's fashion outfits from the past years in the background, taking pictures of Lewis as well. So he is a true fan, and we need more Lewis fans on the grid. So welcome to the grid. I hope you get a seat, bestie.
I did a post kind of referencing his post, but it was basically this new generation of drivers. They've had Lewis Hamilton as the pinnacle of what F1 drivers are supposed to be. And so a lot of them are coming into F1 that's their
stars in their eyes.
And so I think it'll be very interesting to see this next generation of drivers. And also too, Ollie Bierman, he was very complimentary, talking about Lewis in comparison to some of the other drivers, which, as a Lewis fan over here, I really appreciate it.
Franco saw Lewis at his pinnacle was when he was really looking up to Lewis.
Anyways, just felt like I should deliver that to the people. As we watch Franco for the next couple of races.
He's done well.
He did do really well.
We'll get into that.
Sorry.
Next up, we're back over in the house of RB of Red Bull. It's looking more and more with every passing day like Liam Lawson's about to take Daniel's seat.
Oh.
The streets are saying that they are set to announce Liam Lawson as the driver alongside Yuki for next year.
Oh.
And it's apparently set to be announced between Singapore and the U.S. Grand Prix. So, Daniel, I hope that you enjoy the relaxation of unemployment. It can be a very relaxing experience.
I don't think he'll be unemployed for long. I could see him becoming.
I'm sure he'll do NASCAR or IndyCar or start a brand besides Enchante or I don't know.
Oh, I forgot he has
become a LinkedIn brand master. That man loves LinkedIn.
I could actually see Daniel doing his own sort of F1 podcast thing.
And I will not miss it.
Oh, I think he has a personality for it. But
interesting.
Or at least something like Gunther's doing, something like them alongside with Gunther's doing. I could see something like that. I'm kind of interested. I am intrigued by Liam Lawson entering the grid, but there's a part of me that's I don't know how I feel about that because
why?
There's part of me that likes having Daniel alongside Yuki because it makes Yuki look better.
I hate you.
You know what? I will give you that. Daniel always makes sure that Yuki looks very impressive. I will give you that.
Liam coming in, I'm worried about my poor Yuki.
I'm worried about
Yuki. Liam would outshine Yuki?
Okay,
don't look at me like that. I don't know much about Liam as a driver, okay? Relax.
Yeah, I think he would outshine Yuki. Yuki has his moments, but they're few and far in between.
I think Liam will develop into a better driver than Yuki currently is. I don't think that he's going to show up and trounce him the same way he didn't show up and trounce him when he was filling in for Daniel. He did a really good job, but he did not show up and kick his ass.
Yeah,
but I think when you bring in Liam, he's going to be the shiny new sparkly toy.
Yeah,
that everyone's going to pay attention to.
We'll we'll see how that goes.
Not unlike the other rookies on the field right now.
We will get into it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Recapping the race before we started the race.
I just said not unlike. I didn't state specifics.
Stick to the format.
Okay. All right.
T-Way. Also about Red Bull, Christian Horner gave reports that it appears that Red Bull has traced back their development issues to a floor change that they made in Barcelona 2023. And Christian Horner brought this up in defense of Checo by saying that Checo had told the team, hey guys, this is an issue. But because Max won that weekend, they spent this entire time assuming that Checo was just dog shit, rather than actually assessing the drop in performance of the car, because Max kept doing good, so they were like, oh, so there's nothing wrong with the car. And then they just got so off track that now you're having the where it's like, even Max cannot outpace how shit this car is. So, very tragic. Shout out my boy Checo for being the first one to bring it up.
I hope they never make changes.
This also means
Just so shady.
That Toto in the F1 Drive to Survive clip, where he was like, Checo's been saying the car is fucked.
Oh, yeah.
We all thought Toto was maybe reaching a little bit. Like Checo was
Lo and behold,
telling people this car is fucked. So, shout out Toto for reporting the journalistic news. We all made fun of you a little bit, but it sounds like you were telling the truth. So,
well, whenever Checo talks about something in relation to Christian, just like when Christian talks in relation to Toto, you always have to take it with a grain of salt as being possibly bullshit.
Yeah. So, we will see. And then, last piece of news. The streets are saying Bottas might not get a seat. The streets are saying he might be joining Daniel in unemployment. So.
Yeah, not looking good, but...
I feel like we bring this up every week, but the streets are saying it more and more, so I feel the need to bring it up.
Come
wow.
to the end
of the road. Okay.
Anyway, cutting you both off, because we have to get into a pretty decent Azerbaijan Grand Prix, hosted at the Baku City Circuit. This Grand Prix was first established in 2016. It's a 51-lap Grand Prix, and the lap record was set by Charles in 2019 at a 142.009.
That poor boy on this racetrack.
Who?
Charles.
Oh, Charles. Yeah.
Yeah.
My man suffered some
Your man.
He has a history of suffering at Baku, based on what I heard.
Yes, so we're going to get into quali. First, some historical context. What Felicia is talking about is, I believe Charles has gotten, including this race that we're up to talk about, has gotten pole 4 times at Baku. I don't believe he has won at Baku.
Nope.
And also for some historical context, Sergio Perez is the only repeat winner of Baku. He's the only person to have won it twice.
If I was him, I would work next time to make sure I didn't get pole.
Maybe it's the first pole.
Yeah.
Maybe it's cursed. I was about to say, I cannot remember who it is. Bottas is the only person to ever get pole at Baku and win from pole.
Wow.
Bottas is the only person to ever win from pole. Everybody else, it's been a different winner than the pole sitter.
I remember when Bottas was a good driver.
Damn. Okay.
Leave that man alone. NT-Way, let's get into quali. Q1, obviously everybody is on the track. My first note is that all the rookies did such a good job. We had Ollie replacing Magnussen. We had Franco on the grid. They did such a good job. They were really
Question.
Good. Yes.
Magnussen's only out for Baku, right?
Yes, so he will be back for Singapore with 0 points on his license.
AKA an absolute demon. Continue.
Especially, considering he doesn't have a seat yet, he might just keep on keeping on.
He's gonna wreck the track.
And I can't wait. I would just like to note, all the rookies did such a good job. They did great. They both made it past Q1. We love to see it. The Williams were so fast.
I was shocked.
their straight line speed has always been their benefit. And Baku is a lot of straight lines.
It is.
It is half straight line. So,
it's still Williams.
That is true.
Up there.
That is true. They had a spectacular result this weekend, which we'll get into.
When I started watching F1 just a few years ago, Williams was almost habitually 19th and 20th. To see them top 10, both cars.
What? Yes.
Thankfully for Williams, the Salbers have decided to take up that mantle of continually being the dog shit ones. So Williams has finally been elevated to not continuously dog shit. Of course, we've got to talk about it. The actually notable part of Q1. Lando Norris qualifying P17.
So
that was sad.
What was I doing when I was sleeping? What day? Saturday. I was in bed when I was watching it. So I woke up on time, but tuned in like late. So I tuned in Q2. So I'm looking. I'm like, okay, let me back up a little bit. So I was in a hotel. The hotel I was in had DirecTV. If you've been aware these past couple of weeks, DirecTV has not had ABC or ESPN for the past 2 weeks. So I actually could not watch qualifying. And I also...
Girl, you are an F1 podcaster. If you don't get your ass some F1 TV and share it with your sister...
What do you mean share it with your sister? You're sharing it with me.
So if you don't get yourself some F1 TV for yourself...
half asleep. I end up going into YouTube and watching the race. And I see the name scrolling of Q2 and of who had gotten out Q1. And I saw McLaren. And I was like, oh, what happened to Oscar? Just I felt so bad. And then I said, what in the world did this MFer do? Embarrassing.
It is so mind-numbing to me. Two things. One, we spent, I want to say 2 minutes at least of the broadcast trying to figure out what could have possibly caused Lando to get out in Q1. A fucking mistake.
Yep.
He went over the fucking curb, fucked his lap, and so he was out in Q1. They spent so long trying to be like, did he see a yellow flag? Did he this? Did he that? And I'm like,
oh yeah, that yellow flag thing actually had me confused.
Yes. Well, because still don't know what caused the yellow flag. Lando saying, oh yeah, I saw the yellow flag, so I boarded my lap. And I'm like, King,
First off, don't call Lando King. Don't call Lando King.
It was a sarcastic, derogatory King.
Yeah, but no.
we saw the onboard. The flag was crazy. Besides the point, maybe he thought he saw yellow, and that's acceptable, except for the fact that it knocked you out in Q17. And then also, after this whole weekend's bullshit of papaya rules, McLaren saying we're going to start biasing Lando in 50-50 decisions because we got to think about the championship, da-da-da-da. Kuwait immediately becomes a non-factor because Lando
when the 50-50 becomes you're in the back 50, he in the top 50, so have at it.
Yeah, which just wild. For Q1, it ended up being Ricciardo, Norris, the Salbers, and Ocon knocked out in Q1. Rip for them. Ocon hit a concrete barrier slightly, so he was just fucked and by the end of the situation. So, rip Ocon. On to Q2. Only notable thing is that Ollie outqualified Hulkenberg. So congrats, Ollie.
True.
Won the head-to-head on your one weekend filling in. We love that for you. But knocked out in Q2 is Ollie, Yuki, Gasly, Hulk, and Stroll. And then for Q3, a couple crazy things went down. I would like to point out one of the craziest. How the fuck did Williams forget the fan on Alex's car?
The fan, the dry eye, all of it.
I actually am confused. Like, I'm not even saying this in like my normal bitchy way. I'm actually genuinely.
It's a huge piece of machinery.
Yeah, like it's yellow.
It's a giant neon piece of machinery. I don't understand how you missed that.
I'm confused. And poor Alex tried to get it off and get the stewards to come take it, and they're just standing there. And Alex is like,
they're standing there like, we can't. And he had to chuck that thing from. Oh my god, that was.
I'm surprised they didn't.
But listen, kudos to him for
quick thinking,
figuring that out. Because, woo, child. If he almost messed up, whose lap did he almost mess up? Was it George?
Everybody's last lap was almost fun because there was about to be a red flag because he was stopped on track. So,
Jesus.
Yeah, R.I.P. Alex and this
Williams,
fan.
Somebody got fired. Somebody got fired at Williams. Somebody got fired.
And yeah, Q3 is pretty straightforward, pretty simple. We had some exciting, fun things. Checo finally out-qualified Max for the first time this season. Congrats, Checo. Congrats, Checo.
Isn't this like his circuit? Like this is the one where he like thrives?
Yes. There's the classic meme of Checo in countries with questionable human rights records. And it's a little zoomed up video of him going really fast.
Wow. I have not seen any of those. That is wild.
Wow.
Wait, repeat that?
Huh?
Never mind.
Anyway. And then Charles Leclerc on pole. Yay!
Proud of him.
Until.
Yeah.
No, until we're proud of him. All right. We can get into the race. Everybody will be excited to note that the first line in my race notes are not Lando bottles the lead in lap 1.
There was
no lead for him in the bottle.
He actually gained places on the first couple laps, which is easy when you are around backmarkers. So I'm glad that he, got started. Just wanted to call that one out because I know that I've mentioned it quite a bit in these past few races. Also should call out that because of the qualifying order, we were geared up for a crazy start that would have included Fernando, George, Max, Lewis, and one other person I'm forgetting, all together in a line at the start of the race. However, Mercedes changed Lewis's car, so Lewis started from the pit lane and was saved from that potential disaster. However, that meant that he was stuck in another potential disaster, racing rookies and backmarkers. It was sad to watch.
Fighting for his life.
Fighting for his fucking life. Every time they flash back to Lewis in P15, I was like, God damn it! Why are you gonna pass anybody?
All you just see.
Videos are funny. They actually interviewed Lewis, I think, at the driver's parade.
This Wi-Fi is
and
killing me. Max's Wi-Fi is killing me today.
Do you think that Mercedes has confidence in you to make your way through the field? He was like, no. He was just like, damn, we just couldn't make it through the season we need another.
No.
I was like, okay. Well,
listen, at least he's being a realist,
He's being FFR.
Yeah,
it was kind of funny though.
That's hilarious. No.
Speaking of my Pookie suffering, watching Max suffer with this horrible car that can't turn.
Max was
not
can't
happy. Brake. And it got no straight line speed. Heats up the tires in 2 laps.
Max didn't have anything going right for him this race.
He kept complaining about the car so much during the race. I was just like, and this is saying a lot for me. I even felt bad. I was like, give the man just a proper piece of machinery just for him to make it around the track.
Man is bleeding.
Like, dang. I bet if you put this man on Toyota Camry, he could work something out better than this. Like, what are we doing?
He could work them out in a Kia Soul, okay?
Exactly. He could put some real lap times in. Y'all have my man down bad. I feel so bad for him.
He was in the struggle, okay?
Speaking of the struggle persists for Yuki. The horrors that Yuki has endured this past series of races
just-
is insane.
The amount of times I've seen Yuki hop out of a car with his head hung low is just sad.
I don't understand what's going
It's so
on.
sad.
I'm like still not fully read in on what happened, but I think him and Lance had a little scuffle.
He and Lance tapped, and basically Lance left a hole in the side of his chassis.
So I'm not gonna lie, y'all, real quickly. Just I watched this race on a plane on a full flight from DC to at 6 a.m.
I don't know why you did that.
Like in the most uncomfortable position
Because she's dedicated to this podcast.
Yes, but I'm dedicated. But
I'll wait till I got home.
It was. I'm not gonna lie. That's why I was like, I don't remember that happening, and I have to like trigger my brain, and I remember it because. Do you know how I remember? It's just like a random thing, just a random point when Lance was like complaining. For some reason, I just thought it was so weird. He called him Sonoda. And I don't know why that's what stuck out to me about the whole comment. I was like, why didn't they just call him Yuki? It's so much quicker to say than saying Sonoda.
No, he said Sonoda.
Anyway, sorry, just a random thought that popped in my head as we're
no, because I thought it was a little like it made me like perk up a little when I heard him say that. I was like, why did he call him Sonoda?
But yeah, sorry.
You're all good. Yuki keeps getting shafted. Also, I'm just gonna say, Yuki and Lance qualified next to Lando.
Yep.
You're telling me you bitches decided to hit one another?
Yep.
Instead of adding some plot to this goddamn race and giving that man punches, you could have spiced up the plot of this race in a whole different way.
As to how it is spice up the plot.
Simple. If it was Lando that had the puncture instead of
Lance,
Lando would have had to pit. He would have been too far behind to hold up Checo in that last stint right before Oscar pitted. So Oscar and Checo would have exited the pits closer to each other. And instead of it being Oscar and Charles battling for the win, it would have been truly Oscar, Charles, and Checo battling for the win. And I don't think that and maybe Carlos added in, but I don't think that Carlos Checo crash would have happened because Checo would have been up where Oscar and Charles were.
Speaking of, damn.
We'll get into it. Trust me.
That's all I'm going to say is damn.
We will tap in. I do have to say, the one good thing, I personally like watching Checo be successful. I find joy in watching Checo be successful, and here's why.
Beck, fix your face.
Here's why. F1 Twitter fans are so mind-numbingly racist that every time Checo is successful, it brings me great joy. The way people call him a pay driver, he's dog shit, he's this, he's that. Daniel Ricciardo is still on this grid.
Well,
Daniel Ricciardo walks and breathes among us on this F1 grid. And we're calling Checo untalented?
Well,
a paid driver, a person, sponsor? What about Daniel? Why? I don't understand. At least some people are consistent and hate Checo and Daniel. For those people, I respect your grind. The amount of Checo Perez hate I see on a weekly basis, and I'm like, you guys don't hate Daniel. And I'm not saying you can't be a hater for
because Daniel is a Caucasian man.
But I like watching Checo be successful because I like watching him stomp on the haters.
What'd you say, Bex?
Nope, nothing.
Okay.
Anyway, now that we've talked through the horrors...
Well, maybe he's not Caucasian. I don't know.
Daniel's Italian.
I don't know the man's background.
Well, I'm telling you, he's Italian.
He is Italian, but he doesn't consider himself Italian.
Yes, sorry, he's Italian and from Australia. Famously colonized by the British. Anyway, we had the horrors, we had Checo's mild successes until a point, which we'll get to.
So I don't find I think enjoying the racists being, shot down. I do appreciate that. But Checo's success is just kind of mid for me.
That's okay.
He doesn't bring joy. Checo does not bring joy in. I think you could remove Checo and it would not affect the grid at all, any way, shape, or form for me. He's actually one of the most just like blah characters on the grid. Don't dislike him like a Daniel. Don't like him like a Logan or a Yuki. He's just there. Half time I forget it.
Oh my.
He has some like crazy stat in comparison to Max.
Oh well.
So team.
Well.
But
I was gonna say, we've gone through the horse, we've gone through mild successes. We can go through the ultimate success, which is Charles and Oscar.
Yep.
I love watching Charles and Oscar race. And I both love and hate watching them race. I love watching them race because I think they're two crackheads racing against each other, but in a completely different way than Lewis and Max are two crackheads racing against each other. Where it's like, I know that if I am watching them battle and I turn to walk away to go get a glass of water, I may come back and the order will be different, but they will both still be in the race. I probably missed a great overtake. I probably missed some boop bop boops to get around each other.
Yeah.
But I feel confident that I'm coming back to the two of them in the race.
They will still be driving.
I know how much they dive bomb each other. I'm confident they're both still running. In a way that I cannot say for any of the other crackheads that race each other on this kind of So it is simultaneously good in a way where it's like I get to see really good racing moves without one of my drivers crashing out. The way that I never have been able to with Lewis and Max. I'm always like, damn, if Lewis makes a really good move on Max or Max makes a really good move on Lewis, one of them two is out of this race.
One is out. One is out.
One of them either race, somebody's on top of somebody's head.
People are making drug
to a
allegations
hospital.
in the media. Like, every time one of them makes a good move, somebody's in the hospital. Charles and Oscar, I feel confidence, I feel safety. I love that for them. It also means that I have no adrenaline when the two of them are dive bombing each other because I'm like, oh yeah, one of them's gonna figure something out. It's gonna be what it's gonna be. But it's still fun. It's still good to watch. I love it.
Let me tell you.
I also I like watching two talented, likable people battle each other for blows. Because no matter who I want to win, I don't feel true dejection at the other one being successful.
True.
Yeah.
And then if one wins over the other one just got second.
Exactly.
But yeah, no, I actually am. I was happy with either of them winning.
Yeah.
I felt like
Max doing poorly doesn't hurt nearly as much when it's Charles and Oscar winning.
But I think I'm happy it was Oscar and not Charles. I feel kind of bad because I do like Charles, but I was happy it was. I like Oscar wins.
Yes.
I like an Oscar win that wasn't destroyed by Lando.
I was gonna say one of my notes is fuck Lando, fuck McLaren, and fuck everybody who made Oscar's first win dog shit.
You know,
he did a little clip after where somebody was like, "Was this better than the first one?" And he's like, "So much better." And I'm like,
"I bet it was, babe."
I can't believe you did this to him.
You know.
I would also like to say, obviously, as you can tell from our commentary, Oscar won. He, did a really good job doing a really good dive bomb overtake on Charles. And
that was
then
a really nice one.
People always shit on Oscar for tire management. And he did a great job managing his tires. Loved that one. I had just seen a clip from the Red Flags podcast, and I can't tell if they were saying that Mark Webber, Oscar's manager, did this or that his vibe walking around was this. But basically, after the race, Mark Webber was like, "Oh, Oscar can't manage his tires, huh? My driver can't manage his fucking tires, huh? Who can't manage their tires now, bitch?" Just because he did such a great job. So I am excited to see all the menace things that Oscar does with his tire management skills. So I think that man is about to terrorize the grid positive. And I'm super excited for it.
Yeah.
Speaking of Mark Webber, I'd like to do a small history lesson because I think it's relevant in this Empire Rules era. So, for those of you who may not know, Mark Webber drove with Sebastian Vettel back at Red Bull during Seb's golden era. And Mark was the more experienced driver, but basically ended up being the number 2 driver because Seb was the golden boy. Think Max, but it's 2013. And notably, I believe one time when Mark beat Seb, he got on the radio and said, "Pretty good for a second driver, huh?" the desperation. I knew Oscar would never do it. If Oscar had gotten on this radio and said, "Pretty good for a second driver, huh?" into the mic. Life. That was all that was running through my head when he won. I love that for him. I think that
Oscar's
McLaren
way too
will
chill
make,
to do that.
He's way too chill to do that. Mark has never been as chill as Oscar.
The way he was on the radio, he was just like, "Thanks, guys.
Hey, guys,
it was a great
so
race.
great.
I was stressed for 90 minutes. That was great.
But
Thanks."
This was great. But I personally hope that he continues winning. I hope McLaren realizes how questionable their choice to prioritize Lando is. And we'll see how the rest of the season goes. All right. Now that we've talked about our two successful front runners, let's talk about our two unsuccessful front runners. So,
they weren't exactly at the front.
They were close. On the second to last lap of the race, lap 50.
Oh, those two.
Carlos and Checo. It was insane. So Carlos is running fourth, trying to catch Checo, who's running third. Long story short, they veer into each other and crash each other out of the race on the second to last lap.
Yep.
Trying to fight each other for the last podium place.
Well, so Carlos had passed Checo, and Checo basically veered into the back of him. Isn't that it?
So the way that it basically
or they veered into each other
was I believe Carlos had DRS. They were on a straight. If you look at the racing line that they say it is for that part of the track, Carlos's path makes sense. However, that path does take him directly into where Checo was. So it was one of those things where it's Checo knew that he was coming in that direction because he should have realized that Carlos would try to follow the racing line, and Carlos was going to pass him. So of course Carlos was going to try and follow the racing line. He
should have backed off.
However, it's not like Carlos didn't also know Checo was to the left of him where the racing line was. So ultimately it was decided that it was a racing incident, but they crashed each other out, which was so dumb.
Pretty bad.
And then also dumb is whatever magic voodoo George Russell has done on the F1 racing universe. Because, as per usual, George Russell is right behind the scene of the crime. George Russell was running in fifth. All of a sudden, he's getting a nice podium place. And these two idiots crashed in front of him. Insanity. Absolute insanity.
So, again, like I said, I was on the plane when I watched this race. And
you in this plane race.
So, it was about lap 48 or something. Cause the screen, the way you got to do it was in the screen. I left the screen to change a song. I was having trouble getting back to the live TV. And I was just like, oh, well, whatever. Oscar won. Great. I get back to the race. The race is over. And I'm like, George. I was like, what the hell happened in these 5 minutes I've been gone? And
it's going to kill me.
And it was just so crazy to me that when I finally saw the I don't know what's going on,
Sorry, listeners. Bex's Wi-Fi is
in and out right now. I don't have it. I told y'all before it started, Wi-Fi acting up. I don't know what's going on.
For Dex.
So, but yeah, it was the craziest thing to see that. As someone who's literally watching the race, I think I was at lap 48. It went out on me. I came back, and George was on the podium, and I was just like, explain right now what the heck happened. Because I didn't have Wi-Fi, so I couldn't even go on Twitter or anything to figure out what the heck happened. I was just waiting to figure out, and the commentators were still slowly. Anyway, it was just very annoying. So having to watch that back was like, of course these two. Of course these
It was
two.
just, they had both done such a good race, so watching them crash was annoying. Although I will say, I'm glad they're both okay, but I'm also glad that we have crashes back in F1. This has been a horribly crashless period in F1. Have we had any good crashes since Lando and Max almost took each other out in Austria?
Was it Austria?
And even then, they both limped away.
They did.
They didn't actually stop anyone.
Wait, wasn't there a crash not that long ago? Maybe my brain is thinking
And she's
something
out
else. Maybe I
again.
just saw a clip of something on it. TikTok
And she's back.
What'd you
Maybe
say?
I just saw a clip on TikTok. I think it was a clip on TikTok. I don't know. Like I thought there was a crash recently, like maybe like 3-4 races ago. Also, I think the break may have my brain confused.
That's okay.
We had the Kimi Antonelli crash.
Race impacting incidents, I would say.
Oh, okay.
Like things that cause safety cars, red flags, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
There was a safety car crash.
There was. The safety car got
and
needed.
Guess you can actually win under, and let me stop actually before I cut off again.
All right. Well, we've talked through all of the race results except for our two championship front runners and just the general state of the championship. Lando did finish ahead of Max, gaining, I believe, 6 points on their whole thing. But notably, moving forward, Lando has to outscore Max by 8 points every single weekend in order to beat him in the championship. It should be noted the only weekend thus far that Lando has outscored Max by 8 points was when Max DNF'd. So, statistically, not looking great.
Not happening.
But, knocking on wood.
You know what kind of irritates me about this whole championship?
Oh, God.
Continue.
Is that everyone's like, oh my gosh, it's been so long. It hasn't been since Lewis and Max that we've had like an actual championship like competition, like a fight. And I'm like, you're comparing Lewis and Max to Max and Lance. Lewis and Max, people were on the edge of their seat.
I almost threw up in Abu Dhabi. I almost vomited because of Abu Dhabi.
I told you, we already had this. We had a quick discussion about Abu Dhabi. We cannot. We shall not.
Yes.
But
I agree with you fundamentally. Max and Lewis were doing things for the girls. They were fighting in the media. They were crashing each other out. They were racing critically. They were racing each other
week in and week out. Yeah, each other, not
each other. Lando and Max have raced each other
back and watch all of this that you're talking about.
And the one weekend they raced each other, they threw temper tantrums and crashed each other out. What are we talking about? Being like, this is such good champion contention. I'm like, no. Lando got handed a rocket ship and is playing catch up. This isn't an actual like wheel to wheel battle. Comparing, I have the same issue with people comparing this year to 2021 with people comparing every F1 friendship to Mercedes, where it's like we are missing the critical depth and context that made this what it is. Stop competing where you don't compare.
Yeah,
you cannot compete where you don't.
I think F1 fans are just so starved for like a championship
conflict and like
fight or a championship fight that they're just like, oh, this is the closest we've had, so it's great. I'm like, no, it's not that great, especially when you start looking at like historically, like because I mean, like even before like 2021, there really wasn't. It was just Lewis. Yeah. You know, so
it was.
I understand the want and the need for like a championship fight,
but we also need to live in reality.
This is not it.
Yeah. All right. I think that's all that we have for the race. Thank you for listening. Our next race up is going to be Singapore, and ladies,
it's
going to be a wet and wild weekend. It's supposed to rain for 2 weeks straight in Singapore. That track's going to have zero grip. I, a Max fan, of course, hate Singapore. But fingers crossed that it being a wet track will save my king. Also, and I'll make this my question because it also has to do with F1. I forgot to cover it in the news or in the race. So sorry. There have been reports that McLaren's wing, and by reports I mean live video evidence, of McLaren's wing flexing too much and shedding drag under high speed. So my question for the ladies, do we predict any F1 FIA intervention about the McLaren back wing?
No.
I'm saying no as well.
I think
Ben, what's his face, is a dirty capitalist who does not want to do anything to neuter McLaren in a year where Red Bull's being challenged.
Yeah, I just feel like it, again, kind of what we were just talking about, like the championship fight. It's quote unquote good for business, even if they do have an illegal car. And I also think like people have been like starved to have someone else at the top besides Red Bull. I don't even know if that's good for business though. Anyway.
But I think the FIA has already shown that they'll kind of let McLaren get away with things, because remember the little pointy thing that basically tore up Max's wheel the last time they were going wheel to wheel. Like, they've already shown us that they'll let something slide as far as McLaren goes.
And I feel like everybody and their mother has been hollering about this wing flap thing. I don't really know what it's officially called, but
Didn't they call it like a flexi wing or something like that?
Yeah, they're calling it a flexi wing.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully, and by the way, I also don't think FIA is going to do it, but hopefully Jonathan Wheatley, Helmet, Toto, and fucking Fred.
Who's Jonathan Wheatley?
He's Red Bull's like little technical lawyer guy. He's the reason why Max doesn't get penalties. And make sure those penalties doesn't happen.
I'm surprised, but you go back to 2021 Christian Horner, he would have been standing on top of the Capitol, hollering, telling anybody he knows that McLaren has an illegal car and that they should not be racing. But because that fool decided to go and, fool la la in business and people that, weren't his wife, now he has to stay mum.
Yes, I do think that is a critical aspect of this. And I think this thing that pisses me off the most, we saw Christian and Toto show their asses in 2021. The way these men were acting, I've never seen people so blatantly unprofessional in my life. You're making drug allegations. You're calling bitches murderers in the press. And you can't even go tell the FIA, hey, do you want to go look at the clips F1 distributed online?
I'm also surprised at Toto.
Toto's baffling me right now. I don't get it.
He doesn't have the baggage like Christian does right now.
I think that it's because people were saying McLaren or Mercedes wing was flexing a little bit to their front wing.
Oh yeah, I did.
And so I feel like Toto doesn't want to draw up any flexi wing tea. But I'm like, Fred, Christian, if y'all don't get up in the scoop,
I can see where Fred has to deal with Lewis coming over if he fucks over Lewis now. But to be honest, I don't even think Lewis would mind.
I don't think Lewis gives a fuck.
Yeah, I have to say, I don't think Lewis would mind, but
I need Fred and I need Christian to hop up in the stoop and walk over to the FIA and get this whole thing sorted out. I would like points stripped.
Oh.
I would like points stripped.
I know, to be honest,
do you think
I do have a problem with them. I don't want them to strip point because I think that sets a very bad precedent. Because if you're not going to do it at the time, especially when everyone's been saying there's something wrong with this car, and you don't do it at the time of the race, then leave it alone.
No, I'm saying I know they're not going to address it, but I'm saying if the teams were to bring it up and be like, hey, they have a flexi wing, you strip the points since they started having that rear wing.
Would they strip the driver of their points or the constructor?
They do both.
Ooh.
They do both.
The last time
the McLaren cheated the technical regulations, they stripped all points from both championships. I'm not saying they should do that.
Damn.
I'm saying maybe all the points since the rear wing got changed.
But that's the thing. I feel like no. If you want to strip points, you have to strip points from the moment you actually ruled that it was an illegal, which is from now.
It's illegal. No, it's not. There's not a new ruling. It is a fact that you cannot have passive aero on your car.
Okay, I understand that, but you let them race. So until you
they let them race back in 2008 with Spygate. They let them race.
They did.
They let them race.
I didn't. But I also like my own things. I have my own things, issues with Spygate. But me personally, right now, maybe it's a lawyer in me. But I also feel like once you come down and you said that is an illegal wing, you should not be racing with that wing. You have to take it off. Then that's when you start. That's when if they continue with the wing, that's when you start taking away points.
It's been illegal the whole time.
No, yeah. If it was already illegal, why would they? Because the rule is they.
Okay, but the FIA have not done anything.
That doesn't make it less legal. If I'm out here committing a robbery on the 1st of every single month and you catch me in August, are you only charging me for August because that's when you got me? Oh, after this, that's when you're screwed. I would get charged for every robbery I've done every single month because you caught me on camera doing robberies every single month.
No, I don't. It's not the same.
It's not exactly dissimilar.
It is.
The whole point is they are not. This is not like a technical clarification. There has been multiple times in F1 history where there has been a loophole that a team has exploited that then gets clarified. That's the situation you're talking about, where there's a loophole, it gets clarified, and it's like, okay, now that we've clarified this loophole, you're fucked. For example, low-key what they did to Ferrari with the weird fuel thing they did in 2019, in actuality, Ferrari was cheating the entire time and knew they were cheating the entire time. They, found a way to, bring more oxygen in to make their fuel work better, and in a way that was, factually breaking the technical regulations. Wasn't really them utilizing a loophole, but it wasn't very clear what was going on.
It was a gray area.
So they were like, okay, now that this gray area has been identified, stop doing it. It's illegal if you continue to do it. And then they went dog shit, right? This is not like that.
Okay.
This would be like if the FIA had written, do not use this particular system to bring oxygen into your engine. And then Ferrari went, great. We're going to build our engine that way. Passive aero is a very well-documented rule break in the same way that,
they literally have a name for it. They literally call it a flexi wing.
It's not a loophole where it's oh, you can't have this gap in your wing unless it flexes under speed. In the, very well written in the rules is your wings cannot flex beyond a certain amount under any load. That's one of the standards of the wings. Remember, Mercedes got fucked because they had too big of a gap in their thing, and it sent Lewis to the back of fucking Brazil.
Yeah,
this is a well documented rule how much of a gap you can have in your wing under every single load.
Fine, whatever.
I love arguing. Anyway, listeners, thanks for listening in. As I said, we have Singapore next week. Not next week. Yes, next week. So,
next week.
The Sunday upcoming. So listen in for that one. Please do rate, review, subscribe, share this podcast to all of your friends, your family, the people that you would crash out with on lap 50 or 51 of the race.
Wow.
We love a crash out bestie. And we will see you all here again next week. Thanks, listeners.
Bye.
Bye.